Welcome back, everyone, to Fine Music, the final 64 edition of Fine Music. Stay tuned next week for the 65 edition of Fine Music. But for now, this is episode 483 of Fine Music, featuring our ever reliable leadoff man, Fred Whitlock.
Well, I'm going to start off with a 2024 release by a group called WALDO'S Gift. And it's either an EP or an LP. I'm not sure. I was trying to figure out that, looking it up, but it's called Beat Tape. And the cuts are Beat Tape 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. They're a UK progressive jazz fusion group, electronic, experimental, and improvising all the way. It's an incredible sound, dynamic, and it's full of energy, a little touch of metal even in it. They're on Bandcamp, they're on Apple Music. I'm sure they're streaming elsewhere. They have several EPs out. And these tracks are recorded live in the studio, no overdubbing. So it's very impressive, improvising and very exciting for a disc. Another group I discovered this week is Grubbs de Soul, GOADRDALSOL. Their album is called We Have Dozens of Titles. And it's a guy named Dave Grubbs and Jim O'Rourke. It's electronic, they've gotten together and they hit different styles of songs. It's a guitar and piano, sometimes quiet, sometimes dreamy. And in an interview, he said, "We're determined to sound like a different band with each tune." They've put out 7 albums. They're from Chicago. They recorded under this name from 1993 to 98. And they're live. This album brings some live recordings with some archives that have never been released before. And it's not just a throw together album. It's a place where you can discover this group and then go back and discover their other albums. They're great deep cuts from their career. It's progressive, spacey, and jazzy. The Harp Factory on Lake Street is 17 minutes long, very experimental. On this particular cut, they almost are compared to the 70s progressive group Henry Cow. And their output is massive, and somebody said this album should be greeted with praise and excitement. So when I heard this group and found out they had broken up already, I looked into one of the people who led this group, Dave Grubbs. And he's put an album out, 2 albums out recently. One he's been recording since 2003, and he put an album out with Lauren Connors. And this is a beautiful album. Together, they put their talents together, and it's chamber-like arrangements on this album. It unfolds over 30 minutes of beautiful music. There's a cut called It's Snowing on Stage, where they're both playing guitars. And then Connor switches to drums. And I guess it was according to notes that I read, that it was pretty surprising in the studio when she switched over and put that on the track. Together with guitars, it's ambient and dreamy, and I would highly recommend looking into Dave Grubbs. He did another album in 2024 with Liam Keenan, and it's called Your Music You Encounter in a Dream. And Liam's from Sydney, and Grubbs went to Australia, and they got together, and they're very both talented musicians on guitar, very confident, because they're improvising all the way, and it meshes so well together. And this is their first encounter, and I hope they get together again. It's a great spirit of improvising, and each note just meshes with the other. They're juggling and interconnecting with each other. There's one cut over 14 minutes long. It's with sonic notes stretching out all over the place. There's cuts like Miracle Bowling Club. It just cements that album together. And this is the first album, like I said, they've gotten together, and people are hoping they'll remain together for a sequel to that album. It's, if you like guitar, if you like Robert Fripp and his improvising, you would like that album. And then I discovered a group that's, I assume, is broken up, the Sea and the Cake. They haven't put an album out in a few years, but I discovered this. They had 11 albums out of all, and I discovered one, O-U-I. It's kind of dreamy, synthesizers, loops, acoustic guitars, strings added, jazzy arrangements. Is very breezy. It's almost a Jobin influence, very subtle and breezy. And they just stretch this out. And someone says, with each listen, it just grows in your ears. The beauty of the album is getting lost in its waves. And if you like some quiet bossa nova style island music, this is a very different album from their whole career, and I would suggest listening to it. Then I found their last album they put out is 2018, and this is the first album since 2012, so they may come out with an album someday soon. This was a 6-year stretch between them, and this album is called Any Day by the Sea and the Cake, and it's power pop. It's complete turnaround. I guess most of their other albums, which I haven't gotten to yet, is in the power pop vein. They blur lines. There's rock in it. There's a little bit of jazzy tone to it, but mostly power pop style vocals. And there's some great songs on here. I like the way they navigate the indie rocks sound. They do it very well. There's an instrumental, Paper Window, which kind of opens up the album a little bit. It's great and very confident with their playing. The vocals are crisp and brisk, and it's very catchy if you like power pop music. And that's it for today.
Hey,
What you recommended, it's right up my alley.
Yeah, I like them. The 2018, I haven't gone back to listen to their older albums, but this one's kind of in the vein of maybe Nada Surf or the Real Estate, kind of in that vein. The other one that I was talking about is more acoustic and more kind of island sound. It was totally different from the last album they put out. But that guitar album with David Grubbs, I think you would like that a lot.
I'm glad you mentioned Henry Cow.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's
I haven't
kind of
heard
a
of
Read their
tie-in.
albums back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't heard of him in a while.
There's a tie-in between GASTR del Sol and the Sea and Cake, right? Yeah, according to Wikipedia,
Oh,
the Sea and Cake did a remake of a GASTR del Sol song.
oh,
In fact, they named their
I-
band after the song, the Sea and Cake.
ah,
Wow.
wow.
I thought that was worth
I
mentioning.
didn't catch that.
Yeah. Investigate this further, music fans. And we'll move on to our next episode. Oh, yeah.